Hello, cocks, arses and twats, this is Richard the Dick Coughlin, how are you? I'm fine and I hope you're well, but sadly it won't last long if you are, because today I'm responding to a video that was made by Martin J. Willett. Now, if you're one of these people who have never heard of him before, I'd like to say that I envy you greatly, and I'm going to give you a chance right now in the video to bail out. Yes, this is your chance to actually turn the video off right now. I wouldn't normally do this, but it's a Martin J. Willett video. Don't worry, I won't be playing any clips from his video. I wouldn't do that to you. The video I'm responding to is called Politically Correct. Those of you who know the sort of predictable Rush Limbaugian bollocks that Martin J. Willett makes will already have figured out what his exact views are on this subject. But I assure you, they are even less nuanced, detailed, and well thought out than you actually currently think they were going to be. Yes, he's done the impossible. Martin has lowered his game. Now, I'm going to give you the best example, in fact this is going to be the only example because it says everything we need to know, really, of Martin tripping over himself, going round his own anus, up his arse, and making himself into a one-man human centipede. In the video he says, people outside the labelled group shouldn't decide for that group what is offensive and what isn't. That's alright, I guess, yes? Thank you very much, you fat gay black bastard. Now please tell me more. He then goes on to say, cripple is not offensive. I'm sorry, Martin, what? I'm sorry, I think I just need to recap those last 2 points, just to confirm to myself and the audience that you did in fact just vomit a massive jug of anus gravy all over our laps. In fact, I'm going to do it in your voice. People outside the labelled group shouldn't decide for the group what is offensive and what isn't. Okay, now let's just clarify the last bit. Cripple is not offensive. Right, whatever. Now, so you are officially, by your own logic, a cripple, Martin. I mean, I was trying to be polite. No, we're not really that hard. But if you're comfortable with who you are, and me calling you that, it's great. You know, you could be like the sort of NWA of the disabled world. You know, I applaud you, and I promise that I will not make a massive deal about this, about you calling yourself a cripple. And I won't encourage people to mention it to you that you called yourself a cripple, as much as possible. You know, calling you a cripple in the hope that you will get angry as fuck and chuck your own crippled ass down a staircase and finish the job off. I think that's more than enough to conclude that Martin J. Willett doesn't feel the need to clarify or carefully read or even cast a sceptical doubt onto his own video scripts, which he's reading, by the way. Now, Martin seems to think that the use of words cannot change minds, and that this is just it's not going to change reality. Well, Martin, sorry to tell you this, you are, as always, talking out of your ass. Let me just give you a bit of a history lesson now. What exactly is political correctness? Well, the first known public usage of the term was during the late 1700s in America, but the phrase itself never caught on and never became a common expression. Then re-emerged in the 1970s in an essay by a leftist called Tony Cade Bambara. It was also adopted by the progressive left-wing feminists who used to use it sarcastically when referring to the anti-porn feminist movement. Then, all of a sudden in the late 1980s and the early 90s, it was picked up by the American political right, after New York Times journalist Richard Bernstein wrote about the idea, saying it was a fundamental tenet of Stalinist orthodoxy. Then, in 1991, George W. Bush gave a speech at the University of Michigan in which he spoke out against the politically correct movement. What is the PC movement? What is the politically correct movement? And who were the members? Well, much like the right-wing Red Scares about fear-mongering over communism, the gay mafia, the war on Christmas, and the more current notions such as stealth jihad and creeping Sharia, it didn't exist. It never has. But let's not be honest, it wouldn't have been effectively scary if it didn't have a shadowy and anonymous group of unnamed, non-existent bogeymen who might jump out at any time. Did I say bogeymen? Sorry, I meant bogey people. We've got to be fair. Now, don't get me wrong. In recent months, there have been several high-profile incidents in which people have been arrested and even imprisoned for sending out offensive tweets and Facebook posts. I have mentioned these incidents in several videos and made my opposition very clear. This won't stop certain people willfully ignoring this in order to force me to become the weak liberal faggot-faced stereotype they need me to be. It's okay though, because I imagine Martin has stopped watching this video after the first minute or so, when it became quite apparent to even him that this foul-mouthed, minimum wage earning, uncoordinated junkie who was born 20 years before he was born has just humiliated the fuck out of him within the first fucking minute of the video. Remember, you're not a stupid person, at least not until I come along and point it out to everyone. Since the right wing hijacked the term politically correct for the purpose of scaring the arse cheeks out of the paranoid citizens of Herpaderpia and, ironically, making these idiots scared shitless of saying anything that might incur the wrath of the mysterious PC Brigade stormtroopers, now the term politically correct was finally rebranded for mainstream usage. With a highly negative and conspiratorial definition, the logical follow-up was to then create the natural opposition definition, which was politically incorrect. So now we had PC and P in C, bad and good, black and white. Sorry, did I say black and white? I meant African American and Caucasian. So now we have these two brand new and unambiguous terms for everyone else to use. Simple. No. Here's why. The term politically correct sounds very definitive due to the word correct. However, this does not apply when the word politics is added to it. It's much like someone telling you that I just saw a really good Martin J. Willett video, which is unfair because nobody has ever said that. As politics are subjective from person to person, community to community, and country to country, there can never be a single universally accepted usage of the term politically correct that we can all agree on. During the early 1940s, for example, Godwin's Law, violation coming up, in Germany it would have been considered politically correct to be a Nazi, or as Martin J. Willett would have called it, the good old days. And being a Jew would have been viewed as completely unacceptable, which just proves Hitler got some good ideas. Politically correct in the UK is widely considered to be a bad thing. This is why so many people, such as Pat Condell, the mythical old-age asexual godfather of the YouTube atheists that hate, moan and have a 2-inch penis community, use it against their critics as if it was a perfectly good and reasonable argument, when anyone with half a brain, which is the equivalent of 6 Pat Condell fanboys, or if Fringe Elements tells you all of Africa, can see that it is little more than just a regular ad hominem. But this argument seems to be good enough for his viewers, who seem to have mistaken being a well-spoken middle-class Englishman who wears glasses with being someone who's well-researched, logically consistent, making assertions, and using credible sources to prove your point. To further demonstrate my point, let me ask you, yes you right there, if you hold to the view that simply calling something politically correct is a satisfactory rebuttal to any criticism because nothing politically correct can be ever good, here are several positions and ideas, stances someone can take that are widely considered to be politically incorrect. These are politically incorrect. Racism, sexism, homophobia, AIDS denialism, Holocaust denial, genocide, creationism, 2012 conspiracies, gay conversion therapy, slavery, NAMBLA, segregation, witch burning, FGM and circumcision, Islamic terrorism, everything Alex Jones thinks is true, transphobia, GBH, GHB, unnecessary surgery, involuntary cannibalism, incest, and raping an old age pensioner whilst wearing a dead baby as a condom without the mother's consent. Most people, with the exception of the cerebrally diminutive inbreds with breaths that smelled like Bussey's window, would agree that those are very bad things to do in general, but especially outside in the street during the minute silence on Remembrance Sunday. Now, for no reason other than to be a smug bastard and rub Willett's face in it, and you don't want to know what it is. It's spooge. Here is a list of things that are considered to be politically correct. Equality, justice, free healthcare, public education, evolution, Big Bang, skepticism, logic, tolerance, equal pay, trial by jury, childcare, openly celebrated sexuality, the opposite of everything Alex Jones has ever said, law, human rights, democracy, freedom and the ability to keep your mouth shut during a Christmas dinner when your Uncle Ray has got drunk and decides to start telling everyone about his alternative theory of how queers were created by the Jews. I know some of you will take issue with a few of those last ideas, but don't worry, because it's okay to be wrong. The problem with most complaints about things being politically correct is that the people who always argue them argue that the controversial and contentious views that they have are so truthful and dangerous that because they're so politically incorrect. By saying they're politically incorrect means they're correct. And those who decide to totally reject these ideas are just labelled as politically correct or incorrect. So it's correct to be incorrect and incorrect to be correct. Is it any wonder we're all a bit confused politically on this issue? Now, even if you disagree with me and you agree with everything Martin J. Willett said, all I want you to do is to listen to this. Right, do you remember about a year ago some guy made a video response to you, and in it he used 2 expressions to describe you, one of which was a mistake or a misunderstanding, but the other one was pretty much how he felt. And that guy was me. I made a video called You Are Racist No Buts, and I referred to you at one point as a racist because you were defending racism as rational. Then I called you a conservative at another point, and you got pissed off because I called you a racist conservative. And then a user called John Paul Prime contacted you via PM and managed to convince you that he was actually being your friend. You then sent John a PM telling him that you had contacted YouTube and you were getting them to take my video down. Now, Martin, you and me, we'd kill each other if we were in a room together, right? But where the fucking hell do you get off having a go or a moan at anyone who ever gets offended by anything, because you are one of the most oversensitive, butthurt little wankers on here. In closing, I would like to say, however, that politically correct and politically incorrect are completely fucking useless, and have very little value in any civil discourse or uncivil intercourse. When someone uses politically correct as an attack, it means nothing more to me than, you're just too scared to deal with my awesome truth, man. And when they use politically incorrect to describe themselves, it's usually, why can't all the niggers be lynched and used as tyrax like my grandpappy used to do? I hate Jews and queers. Politeness and civilization is gay as my daddy on Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Richard the Dick Coughlin, being as even-handed and unoffensive as possible. Go fuck yourselves. Good night.